about drought. I'm joined now by Matthew Williams. He's a Climate and Land Programme Lead at the Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit, which is an independent advisory. Good to have you with us. In particular, what I'd like to talk to you about is the potential rise in the cost of living and how this intersects with some of the conditions that we're seeing at the moment.
The conditions that we're seeing are the driest ever start to a year in 50 years for the UK, and there's every chance that an official drought will be declared in England any day now. But whether an official drought is declared or not, there are already very severe effects, everything from very high fire risk to impacts on food production. And the Met Office has been clear that this is just a flavour of what's to come as climate change begins to bite, and droughts will become more likely in the UK and elsewhere in the world, as your correspondent just referred to. In fact, the record temperatures that we experienced in July in the UK were made 10 times more likely by climate change. And as you say, there's likely to be impacts for the cost of living for people as a result of these types of conditions. So dry weather and extreme heat can impact on people's health, which has a cost for the National Health Service. And it can reduce economic productivity as well. But more directly, the dry weather could make the cost of living worse in three ways. So water companies may have to invest in new infrastructure to deal with drought and increase flooding as a result of climate change, and those costs may be passed on through water bills. We're already beginning to see significant fears from farmers of some crops failing, with concerns that some vegetables may fall by 50%. And in the 1976 drought, we saw £500 million worth of crops lost due to the dry weather. So this could have a knock-on impact through food bills. And then finally, we know that fossil fuel power plants are very water hungry, and replacing those with renewables, which are now 4 times cheaper than fossil fuels, would reduce the water vulnerability of the energy system, but also bring down energy bills as well. So this is all evidence of why, in order to protect families from high bills and from the impacts of climate change, we need to get to net zero as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's quite a gloomy picture, though, in the short term. I think most would agree. Do you feel that there's enough or I don't know, like concrete steps being taken to implement perhaps some of those issues that you raised?
Well, as you said, this isn't just a UK issue, this is an international issue. In July, China experienced a heat wave which severely affected rice production. People may remember the severe heat in India and Pakistan a few months ago. And as you've just spoken about, around half of Europe is currently under some sort of drought condition, with those massive wildfires in France as well. So this is a global issue, and that's why it will be vital at the UN's climate conference in Egypt in December, COP27, that countries build on the progress made in Glasgow last year and bring back more ambitious pledges on cutting emissions and on financing adaptation to climate change, especially in poorer developing countries. Closer to home in the UK, things like hosepipe bans might provide some temporary relief. They can reduce demand by about 5%. But in the longer term, people might want to see other measures taken. So at home, people can ask for water meters to be installed. Only about half of households in the UK currently have a water meter, and we know that they can significantly reduce water usage and also therefore help people to
Really interesting. I like also that you have some of the aspects that might help the regular person when they see these huge, I suppose, consequences of this extreme heat, some stuff that they can do to help themselves.